I move on now to the second point about parliamentary committees or select committees, which Ms. He alluded to, and I think that was essentially the main point of what Mr. Gerald Giam raised. He's essentially saying that in addition to the standing select committees that we have, we should create more select committees to oversee various ministries, if that's how I understood him correctly. And that has been done in other countries. I think the question that we have to ask ourselves is, in the other countries where they have these multitude of select committees, are they necessarily better governed? Do they necessarily have better outcomes? Are their parliaments more efficient? Is their government more trusted? I would venture to say no, not necessarily to all of those questions. In fact, on many international rankings, by any measure, you will find that Singapore fares well in governance, in transparency, in lack of corruption, or in low corruption, and where it is discovered, it is dealt with promptly, quickly, and decisively. Having more standing committees or more select committees would not be very productive.
I thank the Minister for answering my cut. Sir, is the Minister saying that, and I paraphrase, that select committees don't lead to better governance and trust? I don't think she has established that causality. I'm referring to select committees in other countries. I don't think she's established a causality that they lead to poorer governance and trust. Because is she saying that they are leading, that they cause the people to trust the government less because of the select committees?
I thank the member for his clarification. No, I'm not saying that at all. What I was responding to is the underlying assumption that always goes with the proposal to have select committees. I assume that the reason why the member suggests having select committees is A, he feels it would make for better governance and that it would make for better accountability. And I'm addressing that point. I'm saying that having select committees doesn't necessarily either guarantee or give you better governance or better accountability. I'm saying that the processes that we have give a lot of room for government and ministers to be held to account. And I'm saying that the system that we have already allows for very good governance, and I do not think that having select committees essentially overseeing or having ministries reporting to them will improve things. And my reference to other countries was then to say that when you look at those other countries, they do have select committees of their equivalents, but are their outcomes better than ours? And it does not appear to be so. That was the point I was making.
Thank the Minister. For a second clarification on the point she makes about department select committees being unproductive and a drag on government's resources. What about the resources used by government parliamentary committees? How is the time and resources that ministries spend answering questions and briefing GPCs justified? Even more so given that they are not parliament organs but PAP party organs.
I thank the member for this clarification too. I'm afraid the member may have it back to front. Government parliamentary committees are a party construct. They're called parliamentary committees, but they're not a parliament committee. They are PAP committees, but they are called government parliamentary committees because they come from the party forming the government. And they were formed, for those who are familiar with its history, back in 1987. When they were formed, then DPM Goh Chok Tong took pains to explain that they were different from select committees, which include representation from select committees include representation from all parties. GPCs do not. the purpose of the GPCs was to allow the ruling party, which was the dominant party, to enable or to help the government MPs to perform their duties better by playing a more effective role in policy-making process, to tap on their expertise and to allow them to give political feedback. So in other words, the role of the GPCs within the party construct is to give feedback to the ministers and to the ministries to enable the government to do better policy making. It is not the reverse of the ministries briefing the GPCs or reporting to the GPCs. Ministries can brief where there is a matter that they need to seek the GPC's input or views from, but the inputs are given through the minister, because it is the GPCs essentially are a party construct. So essentially what the GPC's role is to do is to scrutinize legislation, to make suggestions to the minister to help the ministries to do better. So, for example, under the Pioneer Generation package is not means tested. This was something that GPC and Finance Chair, Mr. Liang Eng Hua, strongly advocated for. And it was something that was fed back to us. We took that into account. I know that others also give feedback, and we take feedback from everyone. But essentially, the GPC framework is the party's way of organizing their MPs to give feedback to the minister. And I think just this year, for example, members of the GPC for Communications and Information tabled a motion on building an inclusive and safe digital society, and members for the GPC of Health filed a motion on improving mental health and well-being. So the role of the GPCs is really MPs from the governing party to help the government to do better.
Mr. Giam, one short clarification, please.
Thank you for your indulgence, Chairman. Just one last set of questions. Do GPCs get confidential briefings by government ministries that are not made available to opposition MPs? The minister said that GPCs get information through the minister. Does that mean that civil servants do not brief the GPCs?
Ministries may brief a GPC for the ministry's purposes if the ministry wishes to seek feedback or to find out about something which the ministry is doing. But if there is anything which is political, that's really not for the civil servants. That is really for the minister and the GPCs, because the GPCs come from the same party as the minister.